Hello everyone, Panking here, and we're back for another video today. And honestly, I did not think I'd be back for another Rhythm Game Chronicles video so soon, especially after the one I literally just made about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. So in the last episode, we went over how to mentally prepare yourself for a tournament and how to study for them with Duncan as the special guest. In today's episode, we will be going over the recent achievement that I got on Sunday of this year and on of this month. So, as you all may know, if you keep up with me on social media, I have recently gotten the 15 gold lamp on Dance Dance Revolution World. And you may be curious as to what that may entail. So, what that means is I have PFC'd or Perfect Full Comboed every single level 15 chart in Dance Dance Revolution, whether it is available by default, paywalled behind Grand Prix, locked behind some other event, locked behind Galaxy Brave, which is generally more expensive, and so on and so forth. So, with those, I believe there are about 267, 268 level 15s if you want to count the ones that are locked behind events and that are paywalled. And so, where do I want to start with this? Honestly, I'm going to first of all flat out just say that going for 15 gold lamp was not my initial intention at all whatsoever. And you may be wondering as to why I may say that. It's because I just generally wanted to have an understanding and a baseline of level 15s in general. Because the amount of 15s are relatively close to the amount of 14s there are in DDR, almost just about maybe 8 to 9 or possibly 10 short within the levels. Level 15s in general are not that much more difficult to learn than 14s, in my honest opinion, because you have the ones that are extremely low, your high typical dense 15s with stream patterns and such, or maybe some type of rare crossovers like Rensen. And then you have your mid-level 15s, which may have some tricky rhythms or may have some swing rhythms involved. And then you have your upper echelon 15s, which are extremely tech and gimmicky, such as Ace for Aces, Adrenaline, Draw the Savage, Starlight Fantasia Endorphins mix, which I honestly think should be a 16, but that's a discussion for another day. Um, 15s themselves are just almost which have involve much of the same tech as 14s. And so around the time that I actually did PFC every single 14 chart in DDR, this was also the time where I only exclusively had access to DDR Ace 2L Plus at Dave& Buster's. There were about 137, 138 14s, something like that. But at the time that I was learning 14s, I also was getting around comfortable hanging around the 15 range. And then sometime when I had 14 Gold Lamb during the 2 years, there were a few other players that were telling me in the community, like, oh, well, if you have this many 15 PFCs now, you could probably also get 15 Gold Lamb by the end of next year. I don't know. However old I was at that time, I was a little bit skeptical and looking at some of those people sideways because one, I didn't even know if I had the capability to even learn every single 15. And two, with the amount that they were making on A3, which I did not have access at the time, almost seemed impossible to me. And I'm specifically talking about Draw the Savage. I actually did not take the time to learn that chart until fairly recently, and for recent, I'm speaking of 2 months ago. So, specifically because I had no plays on that 15 at all. And when I was studying it the night before I went to go play it at the arcade, I just kept thinking to myself, was this even possible? Could I even learn a 15 like this? Because I've seen multiple videos of it, specifically the ending portion of the 15, just to see how people executed it. And when I was looking across for it, there was actually mixtures of variant styles of how people actually played it, whether they did specifically the reverse Watatsumis mixed with bracketing, or they just did bracketing by itself, or just did the Watatsumi pattern by itself. And I was seriously debating if I just wanted to stick with one pattern or the other, or just do a mixture of it, do a hybrid of sort. I was genuinely unsure until I found out at the day of the arcade that I actually did better of doing it the hybrid style. So specifically, I'll, I'll give this as a sort of a rundown as how I would normally play a level 15 in general. So I either play the chart on index or look at it for about 20-25 minutes before I go play it at the arcade the night before. And if I'm playing it on index, I would play it for about a good 30 to 35 minutes so that way I not only have a feel for the sync, I can also have an understanding as to, oh, well, there may be some sync drift somewhere. And generally, it doesn't involve, it's not a process that's extremely convoluting. And it's also a process that's also generally accessible to anyone because, also, for someone like myself, I do not have access to a home setup. Most of the time that I would actually have practice for an arcade pad that isn't round one is a local place, arcade place that's also near me that's called Arcade Legacy. And they have a ITG cab to where I can also freely practice whatever DDR song that I want, but I also would primarily play ITG on there. But to get back on track, it would take generally maybe about 2 to 4 tries to learn a specific 15 that I studied the night before, because I'm not generally a nervous player when I actually do record myself to actually look over some bits or some nitpicks. And I tend to pick on learning whatever chart I watched the night before pretty fast, which causes me to also have to waste less money and also lesser time at the arcade when I actually do play them. And so when I actually did have this certain pattern going, I kept it going with every other 15 that was in the folder. And then when I got to the time as to where I am now, I only had 3 15s left for Gold Lamp. And those 3 15s were as followed: Adrenaline Expert, Draw the Savage Challenge, and then my very last 15 for Gold Lamp, Ryoshi no Umi no Lindworm Stardom Remix. As you may know, that 15 took me quite a bit of time because not only one, it's extremely dense, but two, the patterning in it in general is so much more difficult than it needs to be. So much more difficult than it needs to be. And I honestly don't think it should really be much of a 15, but I'm not going to get into that. So I took maybe about 2 to 4 attempts to actually play the 15 within each session that I had because I did not want to have to grind that song all session just to finish 15 gold. Because as I said before, finishing 15 gold was not my initial intention. I just wanted to have it over with, so I just wanted to have that 15 over with so I did not have to come back to it for a very long while. And it ended up working in my favor. And if I go into Sound by Ice Cream, I'm not sure if this will show because the camera is not going to have this focused, but my level 15 average across the scores is a, it's not gonna show. Yeah, the camera is. It's also because I probably also have this other light source in the way. It's probably not gonna matter, but I have a 20 perfect average, which means I have a come across a score accumulation of 20 perfects within the 15 folder and with some change. So the exact score average was 999,807. And the 7 part comes from extra perfects that I have left over within the 15 folder, to which I'm not going to necessarily fix for right now because I don't care that much. And so, with 15 gold done, you may be also asking, well, what comes next? Honestly, I couldn't answer that question with a straight answer because there's so much I could take into account for, such as maybe going for a first 15 MFC because I currently have four other 15s white flagged. And if I remember them, there are Mirada Future, Sakura Reflection, Trip Machine Love Mix, and Next Future. No, that's not the name of the song. I don't know why. I just had a brain fart within that moment. It'll probably come back to me later when I probably upload this video. But I genuinely am unsure as to what I probably want to do much of as for big achievements itself because 15 gold is not something that's generally achieved by most players that play DDR. And I know that number of people that actually do have it is less than 50 or maybe less than 40. Honestly, I could not tell you the exact number. Someone could probably fact check me on that. But as for something as to maybe 16 gold, I don't know about it. I have about 27, 28 16s left over before I finish those, and I have some stupid ones left over that I just don't really care about that much because I generally already have the consensus of that 16 and those patterns learned already. But I guess whenever that time comes, that time will come. And as for something like 17 gold, that's something that's far beyond me. I don't even know if I can PFC half of the 17s right now. But that's a story for another time. And so, with that said and done, with my future endeavors for this game, I'm unsure of. With what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just honestly enjoying myself and just having fun with what I do. And of course, participating in any other tournament that I can also participate in if I can. So, with that said and done, thank you everyone that has been supporting me within over the past 4 to 5 years that I've been playing this game now. And also, huge shout outs to the Ohio DDR and FFC Fairfield Commons Round 1 community for being my biggest supporters within the journey so far for 15 gold in the process. Because if it wasn't for their support, I probably wouldn't even be close as to 15 gold if I wasn't now. And so I just want to see as to how much further I can actually push myself with the game, even if it's not something that's just a major accomplishment. Because it really shows as to no matter what achievement you think that may be far beyond your reach, there's always some slight of hope if you do put in the practice and the effort for it. And it really does not matter as to who that player may be. So that's all I really wanted to talk about for this video today, unless I obviously have some other major breakthrough within the month or next month or two. But yeah, it's just the level 15 folder itself is was just something that was just completely beyond me. I didn't know what to expect from it, and within the time that I put in for level 15s, I didn't even know if it was just going to be worth it in the end. But it just comes to show no matter, even if you think you've spent little time on it, every single minute that you spend for learning on something in DDR will count towards your progress. Trust me, I would know this. But that's all for this video today. I thank everyone that has watched or tuned into this video, and I'll see you all for the next one. Peace.